In this video seminar, I'm going to go through the tips and techniques in creating a plan set using the LakePoint sample plan. One approach to consider when you're creating your set of plans is to create a template plan that has all of the pages you typically would create in your plan set, including elevation views, your floor plan views, foundation views, all of the different pages that you would create in your plan set. If you look at one recommended plan set workflow, your plan file is where you do your drawing area, and typically you begin with creating your floor plan with various rooms or many rooms. You add your doors, windows, dimension it, and then you might send that floor plan view at scale over to the layout file. Once you've created your main floor, if you have additional floors, you would go through and build those, second floor, foundation, etc. And then you would create additional views as you need to. These views, if you look at the typical drawing order, might be your site plan, your kitchen and bath, roof, framing, electrical, elevation, schedules, and then your CAD details as you need them. This graphic depicts the typical project structure that you use in Chief Architect. The plan file has your floor plan view, your saved views, CAD details. Each one of those views are then sent over to a separate layout file where your construction documents are maintained with the different layer sets and the different views. Let's open up a plan file and a template layout file and take a look at the process in more detail. I've opened up the sample plan LakePoint, and the first thing I want to do in creating my layout is come down to templates and do a new layout from template. From here I'm going to browse out to where I keep my templates, and I have a few different ones. In particular is one with a few pages in it, meaning it's not quite a full plan set. I'm going to begin by opening up that layout. Through the project browser you can see that I have 12 different pages inside of this plan set. As I zoom into the table of contents, you can see the 12 different pages in here that I use for this smaller plan set. Let's begin by going to page 2 on the main floor, and let's fill that page in. You'll notice on this page I already have the text of the title for the main floor plan, the floor plan name, some notes, and all text that I typically would use in all plans. Notice in this area, this is something that is on every page, and on page 0 you can actually modify that. Page 0 acts as a master page, so if you want to make these changes, you can double click on the text and it will show up on all subsequent pages. Let's make a change in here. So I put the address in. Also for the plan name, let's make a change in here. I'm just going to type in LakePoint, and now this text will actually appear on every single page of the plan. It's called your master sheet, and it's on page 0. For page 2, which is our floor plan, let's go back into our plan file and open up the view that we want, and then we'll send it out to this page at scale. So I'm going to return back into the floor plan set. Inside of the plan file, the first thing I want to make sure is, 1, I have the correct layer set. Notice up here is my layer set. I have several of them. This one's called the floor plan shell. The next thing is the annotation sets. This controls your dimensions and your arrows and the font and how they look. You want to make sure that that's set up. Annotations are a very powerful thing. If you want to watch more videos on those, I would encourage you to. And then the final thing is the plan view, which is this drop down over here, and this allows you to have multiple views open at the same time. Think of it as like a saved camera view where you can have multiple cameras open. I can actually open up the electrical plan, my framing plan simultaneously. It also then preserves the layer set, the annotation set, and zoom factor and floor number if you choose to. Now the first thing I want to do in the floor plan is I want to use the automatic dimension tool and place the dimensions. So I'm going to just use the automatic exterior dimensions. That tool works quite well. You may want to add some interior dimensions to locate some of the interior walls. Once you're happy with all of the information on that, you can now send this out to your layout sheet. In the File menu, Send a Layout, let's go ahead and define what the scale is and what the page number is. The default will be the page number that you're on. You can change that in here. And the next most important thing is to send it at scale. In this case, I'm going to send it out at a 1/4 inch scale equals 1 foot. That will place it in the center of your layout sheet. You'll want to select it, reposition it. A lot of times I'll hold the control key down or the command key on the Mac, and that's about all it takes to send a view out at scale to the layout sheet. These files are linked and synchronized, so if you were to double click on this, it will automatically open up the file. If I move a window around, move a door around, it maintains that relationship. And one important thing is you're going to want to store both your plan file and your layout file in the same folder since they are linked files. Now a lot of times I like to add a 3D view into my layout sheets. Notice that I have some text over here for the overview rendering. If I return back to the floor plan view, I'm going to use the overhead camera to create a 3D view so I can send that out to the layout sheet. When the 3D view generates, again, you can control different layers on here. Notice in my layer set, I actually have a camera view specific to the dollhouse. I've turned off my electrical cans in the ceiling and any other ceiling lights that I don't want to have in there. And I've created a very specific layer set so I can control that sort of view. The next thing I want to do is just send this out to the layout sheet. This is not a scaled view since it's perspective, so you'll notice that the scaling is actually grayed out. In the camera view options, there's one main option that you want to make sure that you use is a live view that is either on update on demand or update always. I typically use the update always. It's a little more taxing on your layout file, but it will make sure that those camera views are always updated. Let's go ahead and send it out to the layout sheet. Let's go ahead and slide that over, and then we'll want to use maybe the crop handles and adjust it as we need to. If you hold the letter X down, it will concentrically resize as you click on it. So I'm going to hold the letter X on my keyboard, move my cursor over the corner, and then it will resize it concentrically, and then you can position that as you need to, maybe just a little bit more so it's not stepping on the dimensions. On page 3 of my layout template is a foundation plan. And as I return back to my floor plan file, I'm going to change my Save Plan view to the foundation. What this is going to do is it's going to change my floor indicator. It's going to change my layer set and my annotations. This has everything that I need for that view. Underneath the File menu, let's go ahead and send this out to the layout sheet, again at a 1/4 inch scale on page 3. And it places it in the center. I'll go ahead and slide that over and position it approximately where I need it. And again, I like to use a 3D view. Double click on this to return back to the foundation view. And I'm going to go ahead and use the same camera, or maybe open up a saved camera view that I've already saved for my foundation, and that preserves that exact position of the camera. Let's go ahead and open that. I've saved this saved camera view, and it has the particular layers that I want. Notice again my layer set is changed. I have a camera view set for the foundation. It's turned on my floor beams and my posts and only my walls for that foundation. In the File menu, I'll also send this out to the layout sheet. Again, I want to make sure that the camera is set to always update, and we'll place that on page 3. From the center, I'll go ahead and position it. Again, using the letter X on the keyboard, I can concentrically resize that as I hold my mouse down over that position. And a lot of times what I like to do is just hold the control key down so I can get it exactly where I need it to be. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of maneuvering. This is a live camera. If I double click on it, it will immediately open the plan up to that saved camera, just like the floor plan view would if you double click on it. These saved cameras will change, so if you were to rotate this slightly, save the camera up here, close the view, you'll notice that it updates. On the 4th page of my layout template is set up to have my exterior elevations. Let's return back to the floor plan, and for convenience purposes let's just switch back to the floor plan shell, and I'm going to go back up floor 3, and I'm going to use my elevation camera. And let's just shoot an elevation through this side of the house, and let's take a look and see what we have. In this elevation view, you notice that the foundation is very noisy down here because it's seeing all the way through the house. Sometimes what I'll do with my elevation views is I will actually back clip them. There's a specific camera for that, or if you've already drawn your camera, you can go back and make that camera back clip. Let's do that approach by going back to the floor plan view. I'm going to highlight the camera, and I'm going to drag the clipping plane back through the portion of the house. And there's also a setting inside the camera. If you click the open button that you'll find in the lower left hand section of your menu, notice there is a setting down here to actually back clip and force that camera to quit displaying after that cutting plane. Oftentimes I will use that as a default by using this back clip cross section, and then when you click and drag, you can drag it as far as you want for that clipping plane and adjust it as you want. As I return back to the camera view for that elevation, you can see the foundation has cleaned up significantly where you're not seeing the far side of the wall. Now the next step I want to do is place a story pole dimension. You'll find that tool underneath your automatic dimension tool. You'll find a tool for the auto story pole dimensions to place those. Notice how they come in on the left hand side. I've set these up in my defaults. If you take a look at how I've set these up under my default settings, there's a specific entry for the auto story pole dimensions, and when you edit this you can control it's on the left or right. There's a reach parameter. Notice that I have mine set to be 20%. 50%. If this were 100%, it would actually look all the way through the house, and you may find different call-out markers for the different roof edges, such as this one and this one, and it may be busier than you care to be. The other thing is on your locate elevations, you want to choose exactly what you want set up. In this case, I have my ridge, my footing, and my subfloor, and that's why you only see those marks that show up on my story pole dimension. So make sure you set that up underneath your dimension defaults for the auto story pole. When I have the dimensions completed, we'll go ahead and send this out to the layout sheet. Again, that will be sheet 4. Down here in the camera view options, you have a few different options to do. One is the live view, an update with the camera. Typically this live view is going to allow you to change your camera style. If you wanted this to be watercolor or a line drawing, you could use the live view. Plot lines allows you to get a black and white color, maybe a little crisper line weight, and then color fill will add the color fill in there. I typically use the live view and use always update for these views. It's a little bit faster, and I find the line weight trade-off is not significant. And as that comes into the page 4, I'll just go ahead and slide that up. I'll take my default text for that north elevation, slide it up here, and I'll just go ahead and delete the south elevation for the purposes of this video. On the next sheet of the template is set up to be for my roof framing. Again, let's go back to the floor plan. Change the Save Plan view to the Framing Roof view. And again, what that does is it changes not only the layer set, but the annotation set and the particular floor that I'm on. And I haven't saved the zoom factor, but you could also save that zoom factor in your Save Plan views. By coming down here, finding the view, open object, you could come in here, remember the zoom information, and I did save the floor information. If you didn't want to save it, you could say use any. To send that out to the layout sheet at a 1/4 inch scale, we'll go ahead and place that in the center, off to the side as we need to. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go back to that roof plan. Let's take a 3D framing overview. This automatically puts the camera onto the 3D framing set. And what I want to do is I want to isolate the roof only. And I've created a copy of this layer set, and I've turned off all of the layers except for the roof. When I change that layer set, you're going to then see the walls and the floor information all turn off for that layer set. I can then position the screen and save this camera. Let's go ahead and save the camera. And I'm going to now send this out to that layout sheet, and we'll send it out to Always Update. And then we'll just reposition it on the sheet that we need to. And I'm just going to slide this down here. Now I've also set up to do a section view and a roof elevation view in here. Here's a completed view of that page where I've actually taken the front elevation watercolor in the upper left hand corner, and then a section view where the shed roof overlaps. You can see that, those two details on the same layout page. On sheet 6, I want to send a section view and also a 3D cutaway. Let's go back into the floor plan, change our view set to the floor plan saved plan file, and I've got a saved camera in here, this section view. I'm going to double click to open it up. This camera view was created with the backclip cross-section camera, and then I've added some text and dimension in here. Again, I want to send this out to the layout sheet at a 1/4 inch, so let's use this layout sheet to send it out a 1/4 inch, and I'm also going to keep the camera as Always Update and send it out to the center of the page, and then we'll reposition it where we need to, up here in the upper left hand corner. And then the next thing I want to do is return back and take a 3D cutaway view. Let's use the full overview camera to create this view. So I'm going to use the perspective full overview camera. As I rotate around and have the particular side that I want, I'm going to use a tool called the cross-section slider tool. You'll find that here in your menu. With the cross-section slider, you have different options on how to slice and dice the house. I'm going to go ahead and choose this section down here, and then we'll create a slider. As you drag this back, you can kind of see where that slide is. You can also be very specific. You can enter in a value. Also, I've created a layer set that I want to see the trusses, and if I change that layer set, I created one just with the 3D view cutaway. It'll turn on a few things like the trusses and a few other framing details that allows us to see inside the house. I can now send that out to the layout sheet. We'll send it out to the same page. There's no scale with a perspective view, and I'll keep my camera set as a live view, Always Update. We'll reposition that down in the lower left hand section and I'll just grab my text over here and reposition that text over there. So you can add detail with the 3D views with your section views to give a little bit more context for your views, either for your clients or for the building department and installers. Sheet 7 I have set up for my kitchen information for the floor plan, the elevation views. Let's return back to the plan, and I've got a saved plan view specifically for the kitchen and bath set. When I change that, it changes the layer set, it changes my annotation set, and if I zoom in to the particular area of the kitchen, you can see that I've already created all of the details that I need with the dimensions, the call-out cameras. First step I want to do is actually send the floor plan out to the layout sheet. Again, back into the menu over here, send a layout. And what I like to do is change it to current screen versus entire plan view. That will save me a step in cropping the viewport down because this is a very large plan and I only actually want to see the kitchen portion of that. That places it in the middle of the plan. Let's go ahead and slide this over. And sometimes I get in a hurry and I send it out at the wrong scale. I send it out at a 1/4 inch scale. I'm just going to use the rescale tool down here in my edit menu, and I'm going to rescale that at a 1/2 inch so I don't have to return back, delete it, and send it again. Let's go ahead and crop in on this. And the first thing I want to do is I want to crop out the dining room table that's in there. There is a break tool that you'll find in here in the lower edit menu. I'm going to go ahead and use that tool. Click the break tool. I'm going to click in this area right here, create a notch in that viewport, and I'm just going to slide down. Actually, just go ahead and pull that down past the kitchen, and then we'll crop the viewport in past the office area and on this side as well. Zoom out a little bit, and then I'll just reposition that where I want the floor plan to be in the layout sheet. The next thing I want to do is send my wall elevations out. Let's go back into the floor plan. We'll open the camera up. Let's double click on K1 first. This is much larger than just a wall elevation since the wall expands as an alcove back in there where the cabinets are. I'm going to go ahead and send this out to the layout sheet. And again, what I want to do in this case is send the current view so it requires less cropping when I send it out. Make sure that I change it to 1/2 inch in this case. And we'll send it out to the layout sheet, and then I'll just position it and crop it where I need to be. Just kind of pull my crop handles in here, a little bit of busy work, and then we'll position it. Again, I hold the control key down to do that. Return back to the floor plan, and I'm going to open up camera K2 and do the same thing. This camera is a wall elevation. It's a simple wall, and that's why it looks much cleaner. We'll send it out to the layout sheet. Make sure that I have my scale set at 1/2 inch, and we'll send it out to the same sheet and reposition it as we need to. Let's grab that and pull it down where that wall elevation needs to be. And then the final thing is I want to send a 3D rendering out, but I've actually ray traced it and I've saved that off to the disk, so I'm going to browse out to my folder and just drag that in. So I have the folder open. I actually have an option of 3 different variations of this kitchen: the blue, the red, and then also the white. And the white one is the one that I'm going to drag in. That image is selected. I'm just going to pull it over here, drag it into the layout sheet, simply grab the handle. I'm going to resize it, reposition it onto the page, and then I'll make it as large as I possibly can. You can kind of see that, and then we'll fill the screen by pressing F6 on the keyboard. And that ray trace image, typically what I'll do, since that's not a saved camera, but it's an image that I've actually saved off, I want to double click on this image, and I usually like to mark Save in Plan, change the quality to 100%. That way there's no loss in quality. Here's a look at the completed sheet. Notice in the far right corner I've put my cabinet schedule in here, and then also sent a few different views of the elevations of the island in here. On page 8 of my layout template is my master bath information. Again, let's return back to the plan view. We'll zoom out and slide over to where the master is located. In this case, I have both the closet, the master bath, and some notes in here that I want to send out to the layout sheet. And in this case, again, one of the things I want to make sure to save myself a little bit of time is make sure that the current view has been cropped in. And I'm going to change the scale of that to be at a 1/2 inch. That shows up in the middle of the page. We'll do a little bit of cropping in on this. Pull it over just past that powder room. Pull it up past the garage on the lower section. And on the top through the master bedroom, we'll pull that down. Now the next thing I want to do is again crop out this section of the doorway and the partial office. While that viewport is selected, I'm going to use the break tool, again found in your lower edit menu. Use the break tool. I'm going to click a break line in here, and then I can pull that over and crop that as I need to so I don't cover up that dimension. I can position the floor plan with the bath and the closet where I need to, and crop out those portions of the plan that I don't want to see. Now for this example, let's just go back to the floor plan and send the main sink wall. I'll double click on this to reinitiate the plan, and I'll double click on the camera. With this wall elevation open, again send a layout, change the scale to 1/2 inch, send it out to that sheet and reposition it. I'll just slide that up into the corner over here, and like I did with the kitchen, I'm going to browse out to the folder, grab my master bath and paste that image in here. I'll just drag that over here. I'll just go ahead and resize this with the edit handles, position it into place, and usually I like to make these as large as might be possible. Double click on it, click Save in Plan, mark that it's 100%. That way I don't have to worry about deleting that image and breaking a link inside of my layout. Now here's the completed sheet of the bath. You can see that just below the rendering I grabbed some images of the tiles, just like I drug the picture of the bathroom in. You can drag those pictures of the tiles and materials in, and then I added text in here. Also the cabinet schedule I placed down below here as well, and then a few other elevation views. On sheet 9 of this layout template is set up for interior elevations. Let me return back to the plan view, and let's take one of our interior elevations and a 3D perspective view and send it out to this sheet. I have a saved camera view in the master bedroom that's looking at the main wall with the fireplace in it. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that to open up the camera. I'm going to go ahead and send this out to the layout sheet, page 9 at 1/2 inch, and then we'll position that on that sheet as we need to. Again, I'm going to crop in the different components that I don't want to see with this back clip cross section, and then I'll position it over here underneath the default text that I have. Notice that I leave all of the text right in my template plan, and it's very easy to change that as your different room names change. Now from this particular elevation view, notice that I have a call out in here for this recessed alcove for the LED strip light. In my details for my CAD, let's go into the CAD detail management, and I've created a detail for that ceiling LED. Let's go ahead and open that view up. Here is the information, and I'm going to send that out to the layout sheet, and I'm going to typically send this out at maybe 1 inch, but so you can see it, let's make it a little bit larger, that 1 inch, or sorry, 2 inches equals a foot. And then let's zoom in. You can see that detail that I'm going to have in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and slide that down, and then we'll go ahead and add some text. I'm just going to copy the text from this other text object that's sitting here, and go ahead and open this up and give it the information we want. Once I have that change, then we'll just make sure that we change the call out. That was call out M, and there were no arrows on there, so we'll go into the attributes, remove the arrows, and that should be all that we need for that detail. Now the final thing for this page is back in the plan view. Let's open up one of our saved camera views, and we should find that underneath of our 3rd floor, and I'm going to go ahead and open up that saved camera view for the master. So this is a live view. Let's go ahead and close the project browser, and I'm going to change the camera style before I send this out to layout. Let's change it to watercolor. Let's go ahead and send this out to layout. Again, use the live view, always update. We'll reposition that from the middle. Again, if you hold the letter X down on your keyboard, you can easily resize this to the particular size that you need and then position it on the sheet. Now that's a live camera view, so if you need to update it, you can simply double click on it. And if I want to change that view back to the standard view, save the camera, and then once I close it back on the layout sheet, you'll see that the view updated because I have the automatic update on and I don't have to force the refresh on there. Here's a look at the completed sheet that I have for that particular layout with the different wall elevations and perspectives in here. Again, it's nice to maybe show the detail of the dimensions along with a perspective view that your installer or your manufacturers understand the colors that are being used for the plan. On the next sheet that I have set up for the electrical plan, again back into the floor plan, switch over to the electrical set. That will change the different layers that need to be on. Send this out at a 1/4 inch scale to that page, and then position it on the page as you need to. And we'll just reposition that over off to the side. On page 11, I have it set up to be for an HVAC plan. Again, that's the same process as we've been doing. And then the final page that I have is for the door and window schedule. Again, if I go back into the floor plan, I manage my schedules through the CAD detail management. Notice that I have all of my schedules over here. Let's go ahead and open up the window schedule. Let's go ahead and zoom out so you can see the entire schedule. There's several windows, and I've broken it out by floor in here. That's why you see there's 3 different floors in here, plus the attic. Let's go ahead and send this out to the layout sheet. And in this case, I need to change this scale to be quite a bit smaller. Go ahead and send it to be 1/8 inch, and I'll just reposition that. Door schedule works the same way. Open up the schedule, send it out, and then you can see the completed one that I have here on the screen, along with the door schedule. And then I included a few specific doors down at the very bottom. Well, that wraps up the seminar on creating the construction drawings, tips, and techniques for the Lake Point sample plan. Again, if you want to take a look at the process that I've used, the plan file with the saved plan views and camera views are sent out to the layout sheet. Typical process is in your plan file, think of that as your drawing area. You begin by creating the floor plan view, different rooms or several rooms, add your doors and dimensions, save that plan view, send it out to your layout sheet, build additional floors as you need to, create additional views such as site plan, kitchen, roof, electrical, etc. Send those out. Make sure you have a template file that is available so you can easily then just fill in the different pages with the different views you have from your new plan that you've started, and it will make your work process much easier. Thanks for watching the video, and remember, if you're not currently a Chief Architect customer, download a trial version and you can try it out for yourself.